Let's talk about SUI. It's a pretty young blockchain. It came way later than Ethereum, for example. In this episode, I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into SUI and also make a comparison to Ethereum, which is the number two currency in the crypto space, the largest blockchain with smart contracting. SUI, on the other hand, has an extreme high transaction per second. It's 297,000. And one of the things that is interesting about SUI is also the way that you can log in to different platforms. We know Web3, of course, but on a day-to-day basis, it's not really yet integrated into our lives, not for the most of us. And SUI has a feature which is called a Z-key login. So you can log into applications basically the same way. It looks the same way as your Web2 experience, where you use a username and a password. But the big difference is that using this feature, you don't use your personal details to log into the chain. So that's a positive thing. But one of the comments and my remarks, all these kind of features are really great. And when are we really noticing the big integration into our lives, right? That's the big question from all those blockchains and technologies. In 2025, there's still a lot of development going on. The currencies of all these blockchains go sky high because it's being shared on the media, it's very popular, it's getting hyped, so there you could make a lot of money and you could lose money when you're entering late and you join while there is a sell-off, right? Just a remark, this is not just for SUI, this is for any new cryptocurrency token that comes in. It's getting popular, it's growing, but will it last, right? We need to wait until 2028, the next halving for Bitcoin, then we will know for sure if SUI still has a position. We will get to the tokenomics of SUI in a minute. The tokens are capped at a certain amount, but there's only 33% in circulation at the moment. So there was a lot of dilution coming towards us. On the website of SUI, you can see a dashboard with some interesting facts. Gas fees are being paid through the sponsored transaction feature, and you pay transaction fees in SUI, of course, same as you pay transaction fees in any local currency on any blockchain. Total value locked is 1.28 billion, which is pretty nice. And there are 8 million activated wallets. That doesn't mean that there are 8 million people with activated wallets, because one person can have multiple wallets. And there's a lot of money. There's 100 million bridged into US dollar coin. Interesting fact about SUI, because blockchain technologies, you have the first generation blockchain, which is Bitcoin, second generation blockchain, which is Ethereum. The third generation blockchain is, for instance, Solana, Cardano, Polkadot, etc. And now, of course, you have these newer generations. It's just like the iPhone, you get Model 1, 2, 3, but the difference between all these generation of blockchains is that they look at the older blockchains and they say, well, this can be more optimized, so you get even more efficient blockchain technologies. The question, however, for users such as you and me, the question is, how do we interact across all the blockchains? Because we not per se want to interact with only one blockchain. So interoperability is key for future functionality, for worldwide adoption of all these blockchains. So SUI is not natively interoperable with other blockchains such as Ethereum. This also means that because the blockchains use different program languages, different architectures, it's not natively per se yet or almost or always interoperable, which means that you can operate and interact with across blockchains without the user noticing it. But there is a possibility to do that through a wormhole. A wormhole is a protocol. It's an interoperability protocol. So you can connect and interact across blockchains through wormhole, which of course is a great feature. And that's also why a lot of layer 2 solutions, a lot of utility developments are being built around, on top of, and on side of different blockchains to make it either better scalable or integratable with other blockchains, so that you can perform functionalities and functions across different blockchains, which is, of course, again, very important, because as a user, when you use Web2, when you go shopping, for instance, on the internet, You don't want to hassle with or complexity with, oh, I'm switching to another website, so I need to do all the kinds of things with wallets or whatever. No, you just want to shop and you want to receive the item, and you don't really care what happens in the black box, right? That's the future also for blockchain. You shouldn't care about how it works. It just needs to work, and it needs to be cheap, it needs to be fast, and it needs to have a great experience, right? And only then will it be successful. So these are just a couple of facts from SUI. So let me grab a comparison table to compare the SUI blockchain, which is a layer 1 blockchain, same as Ethereum, also with smart contracting, to get a couple of facts and talk about that. Here you can see it. It's a comparison between Ethereum and SUI, and after this I will go to the tokenomics and talk about that further. So the price of SUI, $3.50, Ethereum, 2,769, which is always a screenshot of a moment, right? And the market cap is a fraction still of the market cap of Ethereum, as you can see. It's 4% of the market cap of Ethereum. And as you can understand, is that because you get more and more new generation blockchains, a blockchain such as Ethereum also loses a little bit of value to other blockchains. And again, but those blockchains need to be tested. How much user base are coming to the new blockchain? How much developers are coming? And how does the integration with other blockchains work? And how does it perform in practice? That's why new blockchains are nice, and still you need to investigate and understand what happens over the years. So total value locked is a lot. Total value locked is of course a lot higher on Ethereum, right? 86 billion and almost 2 billion on the SUI blockchain. If you compare this is 3%. That means it's ratio-wise, it's a lot, right? It's more. So the total value locked in percentages based on the market cap is higher for SUI than Ethereum, which is interesting. Total value locked ranking, number 8, blockchain TVL ranking, which is nice because SUI is the number 15 token on the cryptocurrencies based on the market cap currently. There's a lot of total value locked growth. It's that these percentages, if you talk about total value locked growth, when the token rises in value, the total value locked also grows. So it doesn't mean per se that it's 100% more wallets or people investing money in the platform why the total value locked is growing. It also has to do with the fact that the token valuation rises and therefore the total value locked rises. 24-hour price, we'll get to that in a second. ETF inflows, this is interesting because there's an ETF proposal in the pipeline for SUI, and a lot of cryptocurrencies are requesting a ETF to get institutional investors investing into the token. And for SUI, it could attract more people and or businesses investing into SUI, which could help the ecosystem and of course the total valuation, the total market cap of the token. The focus of the ecosystem, gaming, asset ownership, cross-chain lending, and of course Ethereum is larger still. So risks and considerations, I'll talk about that in a moment a little bit more. And one of the things is the upcoming token unlocks. I will discuss this in the tokenomics in a second. And of course, for Ethereum, it's high gas fees during congestion, but things are being updated on the Ethereum network. So at the moment, the gas fees are very low. And in the future, the transaction speed will go a lot higher and it will also get cheaper. So the question is, all these new blockchain technologies, how will they match up against, for instance, Ethereum when Ethereum gets their upgrades, which makes it and faster and cheaper, right? And there's a lot, even more than 50% of all tokens, of all cryptocurrency tokens are running on Ethereum. So let's go to the tokenomics and take a look at what we need to know about SUI. There is a maximum supply of 10 billion tokens. And at the moment in circulation is almost 34%. 3,396,000 and some change. This means that the total diluted valuation, this is the price versus the maximum supply, is 35 billion. And the market cap at the moment is near 12 billion. It's 11.889 billion US dollars, which is the price of SUI multiplied by the circulating supply. Then you get this price of the market cap, 12 billion, which is of course a lot. And this also means when you are not yet in SUI, this is the case for basically every cryptocurrency out there except Bitcoin. When you are very early as an investor with these blockchain projects, you can get these tokens for basically nothing. And when it gets to all the big exchanges, the price explodes and retail is always late, right? So you can never get a foot between the door. So at the moment with the price of $3.50, it's already pretty high. And I'm going to the price analysis in a second, but the market cap, as you can see, the first peak was in January 2025 of $16 billion. And after that, there's a big retracement. But now again, SUI is on the move to the upside. We see, of course, Bitcoin to 110,000. The question is, in the next coming 6 weeks, are very crucial decisions to be made about monetary policy, what's going to happen with the tariff, the trade war globally initiated by the United States. How are these things being de-escalated, and or what's the impact of monetary policy? And the whole economy, stocks, crypto, Bitcoin and altcoins are all looking at these decisions as it will impact the near future increase of capitalization, of course, on these spaces. One thing I need to warn you about, when you see a circulating supply of only 34%, that means that a 66% inflation rate is coming to these tokens. This means that the price could decrease with 66%. So let's quickly jump to the chart for a minute. If I decline the price with 66%, that brings the price of SUI to $1.17. I will mark it. This is when all the tokens would be dumped on the market and people would still hold the tokens. You have a chance that the price will drop to $1.17 and still the total market capitalization for SUI would be the same as it is today, right? And that is, of course, always a risk that you need to take into account. When there is a dilution coming to the token, the price, it's pretty difficult for the price to keep rising because you see so many new tokens coming in, it's being dumped on the market, and if there's not enough buying capacity in the market, the price is going to drop. So this is definitely a risk for SUI. There are always different vesting periods for SUI holders, investors, founders, marketing, you name it. People that got in really early, like even before this, right? This was when, this is the Binance data on TradingView. So on May 23rd, the token went onto Binance. You could buy it, and it started at like a dime, right? Now almost 10 cents. Now, since the start, of course, that has risen with 3,447%. So you could say you're already pretty late to the party when you jump into SUI today. Before I do further analysis on the price of SUI, I want to show you another chart. This is the chart where you can see SUI against Bitcoin. Always a very relevant chart when you look at altcoins. What is the performance of the altcoin over time versus Bitcoin? Bitcoin, of course, as a digital commodity, also has a spot ETF as a commodity. There is only 21 million Bitcoin ever going to be in supply, and 95% is already in circulation. That means there's inflation is very limited. And you can see how it performs over time, so you can understand, okay, long-term investment, how does it perform against Bitcoin? Well, if you look at the chart for SUI, and when you look at the start of SUI in 2023, you could say, well, depending on where, of course, you take the viewing point from, because the first day, this is always the case on exchanges, the price explodes, it gets sold off, and then you get like a big reversal trend to the downside. This is typically a chart for new tokens where you lose like 90+% of the value in the first run, right? This is textbook new altcoins pump and dump. But as you can see, the trend has been going up for SUI starting from August 2024. So almost a year now, a couple of months. It's like 10 months. It has been better to be in SUI than to be in Bitcoin performance-wise. If I take this low and I calculate the difference between Bitcoin, SUI has outperformed Bitcoin. Let me get the exact measurement in amount of days. So approximately 255% has SUI outperformed Bitcoin over the extent of 308 days. This is pretty impressive if you take a look at most of the altcoins, because most of the altcoins, they lose against Bitcoin. So SUI has actually been winning from Bitcoin when you look at the period of August 2024. But if you take like a very honest measurement, you could state, like looking at the closure here in the first week, SUI has still to gain. It's still 26% minus on the closing of the first week. But if you take that somewhere here in this area, you could say it's also basically a flat line. So it has performed pretty much the same as Bitcoin over the extent of the last 2 years on average, based on the result of today, which isn't bad. And it looks like it might be trying to break out of this symmetrical triangle. Let's go back to SUI, to the token, and do some analysis over there. Because the token is very young, you could see that it's only the 20 exponential moving average, the 50 and the 100. There's not enough data yet to have a calculation of the 200 exponential moving average, but it will come shortly. But you can see that it's bullish. It's above the 20 exponential moving average. The question now is, this is the weekly chart, so it's more zoomed out and on macro levels. You could say that there are definitely possibilities. We have a low, you have a higher low, that either SUI is going to try to break out at the price level of around $4, or there could be a retracement, potentially going back and retest the $2.22. So if you would ask me, would I now invest into SUI? What would be my strategy? Well, looking at this chart, you can measure the distance to the next breakout level, right? Let's do that for a second. And the distance is around 17%. So the potential to the upside before the resistance is being tested is 17%. The distance from here back to the lower support level is 40%. So you could gain 16 and potentially lose 40% based on this symmetrical triangle, right? Of course, there's support on the 20 exponential moving average on $3.17. There's support on the 50 exponential moving average, which is $2.71. And then there's support level even lower at 187. And then you can say, well, looking at the data from a long time ago, we have support around $1.17. So these, of course, are interesting bear market theories. When could you purchase SUI for a lot lower? When you are interested in cryptocurrencies, you are either interested because of the technology and the future perspective, or you want to trade. You want to trade a altcoin, but you need to follow the altcoin and follow the behavior of the altcoin, of course, development of the blockchain. You can just take a look at the chart, but I usually always take a look at also macroeconomic activities combined with what is the blockchain doing, how is adoption, and what is the token doing. At the moment, when I would consider doing a trade, because on SUI and short-term fluctuation, I would potentially wait for a breakthrough of this trend line over here. So that means, let me draw a line. I would say, if you want to be safe, I would say SUI needs to break through this resistance and then also print a newer high, right? So it needs to break through two lines. So this is number one and this is number two. And when SUI finds support at $4.30, then it could go higher, right? And then it would, of course, need to test the previous all-time high. And there are some interesting dividends to be earned, right? This is 25%. So for me, at the moment, looking at SUI, but looking at the total space, there are very bullish macroeconomic variables at the moment, and we need to see how it plays out. We know, like, around the 8th or the 10th of July, we will know a couple of things. Of course, we know the monetary policy of the central banks in the United States, which next week there is a press conference about, which is very important, because the outcome of that, plus the interest, the inflation rate in the United States, this data is coming out today. This information is crucial to see what the market is, how the market is going to react. So we need to know these macroeconomic variables, the outcome of the decisions being made in the next 6 weeks, and that will determine if we're going to have a retest at a lower level, or that we're going to get a breakthrough to higher levels. This is across the whole crypto space, and all, of course, if you are into shares as well. That's why it's also risky at the moment. And you would take a little bit of a gamble, in my opinion, to say, well, we're going upwards already. There are 2 important resistance levels that needs to be tackled. And the first one, I can also draw a line. The first one is around $4.07, and the second one, $4.30. So I would prefer to wait for these levels to be reached, or check if the information that comes out in the next 6 weeks is not so favorable. There could be a drop of 40%. And then, of course, you could do an entry at much lower levels with a stop loss or a stop limit if you trade spot. And then again, wait for another retest at a little lower level around $3.50. But that percentage, when you do buy from here and go from back there, that's already a 60% increase, right? So that makes it interesting. That's why altcoins are interesting to trade, so that you don't fall in love with your altcoin and keep onto it too long. In my opinion, there's a bear market coming in 2026. That's still my opinion at the moment. That means that some of these altcoins, which you think is favorable, there are also opportunities in the near future. Always keep that in mind, and also take a look at these projects, look at these cryptocurrencies with that kind of potential. Bitcoin is different in that opinion, because Bitcoin is growing at such a pace, institutionally as well. The bear market for Bitcoin will be a lot less heavily than for altcoins. Altcoins will be decimated into the 90+% loss of value, and Bitcoin will lose a lot less value because there's still a lot of Bitcoin being purchased. That's a topic for another video. So this is my outlook for SUI, and if you want to know, like, what's a price estimation for SUI, what is possible? Well, if you take a look at the last measurement from the all-time high back to this low, this retracement, and what does a Fibonacci retracement level, what does it tell us? There is a possibility for it to reach even $7.50, right? If you go to the 1.618, and that is an increase, obviously, of 117%. So zooming out, looking at potential, I think definitely there is the possibility for SUI to go much higher. And the warning is there are tokens coming into circulation, new tokens, which dilute the total supply of SUI. So there needs to be even more demand to push the price upwards, because if you get 50 million tokens newly released into the market, that means that also increasing the price of the token will blow up the total market valuation of the token. And yes, in the world of crypto, and yes, in the bull market, it's very much possible, because people only think short term. They want to invest as much as they can, and they do fingers crossed and hope that they get a bigger return than their initial investment. And that's why you get these crazy peaks in the world of crypto. While when you look at a project, like, what's the actual value of the project, or what is it actually doing? Sometimes you have tokens that deliver no value at all, but the token valuation is incredibly high. Keep that in mind and be aware of that risk. Let's take a look at SUI in the next couple of weeks and see how it develops, and see which side it will go to and what opportunities it will bring us. So this is some information about SUI. I hope you liked the video. Leave a thumbs up if you liked the video, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.